Tim, I'm a huge film noir detective fiction fan, and I'm just wondering for you as a cinephile, did you grow up a fan of the genre, and is that one of the many reasons why this project was appealing for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, I'm from the UK, and in the 70s, well, in the 80s, I'm not that old. I would watch, Kojak, Y50, Columbo, and then when I started to really get into film, I remember sort of being obsessed with Robert Altman, and then watched The Long Goodbye, and then sort of finding out my dad was hugely into detective films, and then finding out that The Long Goodbye never did any business. It was a very sort of, it didn't do very well at the box office, and no one really enjoyed it. And I was like, but this is amazing. Like, this guy is drifting around the film, doing very little, and it's a film, and I loved it. And I loved that sort of that 70s flavor where the director, they were sort of auteurs, they could sort of do what they wanted. And then I started to go back and see the sort of earlier, The Big Sleep, and sort of see what they're like, and to get that feeling, and that film noir, which is very different, that very sort of sharp lighting, and the smoking, and the fast talking, and the fake tears, and and that was really interesting as a sort of as a style, as a feel. Yeah, and so then I like everyone, watched The Big Lebowski, and then the whole thing changed again for me, which was, oh right, so you can take the genre or elements of the genre, sprinkle it with comedy, and it work tremendously, because it's such a seductive film, The Big Lebowski. I mean, look, it's very visual. There's beautiful dream sequences, which Last Looks doesn't have any of that. But so I very much wanted to draw on a couple of influences and styles, and it was tricky to sort of to land on one specific one, because I know that if I went on one way with it, I'd want to, because the script was very different to anything I'd read, and it started in a very quiet place, very minimalist, and it takes about 10, 12 minutes for anything to really happen, and then once he's on his bike and he goes to LA, then you're in a very different energy. So I was sort of acutely aware that if I shot the whole thing noir, it would jar at the beginning, and there would be certain moments that wouldn't work. So I peppered it in there. I sort of put the the stylistic cinematic tropes in there, and when needed, I put it in there when I felt was the right time to do it, and the framing as well, just to made sure that we were sort of quite wide in the first instance, and then really tight and low. You give the character certain power with the angle that you do. So yeah, just I sat down with the DOP, and we watched Chinatown, we watched Lebowski, watched Mulholland Drive even, and just sort of, you just get influenced, and then you want to do your own version of that. So
I was really also interested in the character of Charlie Waldo, and the fact that in a lot of these type of narratives, sometimes the lead actor or actress, the protagonist, is sort of a cipher and a blank slate. But Waldo, is a very interesting person. Can you speak to that? Because you're trying to also, while trying to uncover this whole conspiracy or who the murderer, you're also trying to wonder where is he coming from? And was that another element that you loved about crafting the story? Because Waldo is an enigma in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of film noir lead characters is a man with no past, a man with no future, a hero with no future even, but Waldo is very different, because he's entirely formed by his past. We find him in this frozen trauma. There's something not right. There's something he can't move on. He's looking for some redemption. He's looking for something. We don't know what it is. However spiritual and naturalistic he chooses, and eco-friendly he chooses to live his life, there's something he can't get past. And I loved that, because I thought, we're telling the story from where we find him onwards, but you can't shut down your past. That you are formed by your past, and he is a result of something. The reason that there's a sequence of events that have led up to how we find him, and that in itself is fascinating, because you don't quite know what it is, because he's so embroiled in the plot, which is this murder from Alistair Pinch, and then he's trying to sort of honor Lorena There's another character who comes in. So he's sort of overwhelmed by these characters and what they want from him. And he sort of doesn't want any of it. And then on top of that, it all comes tumbling out about his past and the way he is. Tortured,
You have such a talented ensemble here, but I'm going to selfishly ask you, what was it like, with all these, we all know how great Hunnam is and Gibson and whatnot and Lucy Fry, but I just want to selfishly ask about Paul Ben Victor. Is it great just having someone like that as part of your ensemble? And I just keep wondering, as a cinephile, I just want in my separate fantasy world to have 10 to 20 Paul Ben Victor led movies, and so what was it like,
Oh,
so.
he's amazing. I mean, that man, it's like who is the best person to arrest Mel Gibson playing Alistair Pinch? I just thought it has to be Paul Ben Victor, because he's got such a presence. He's such a strong, really centered actor. And when we did the big scene in the police station, I said to him, as Anis and Waldo are having their exchange, I want you just to walk in and out of their shots and just walk around and just improvise and just react to what you're hearing. He was like, okay. And we did one take where he just went ballistic. He was just going, yeah, and he was running around. It's like, well, hang on, well, maybe that's a bit too much. But he's such this like wild energy, incredibly gifted as an actor. I mean, you can ask him to do anything. And he just plays that role so well. He's hardened and grizzled and he's tough and he's incredibly professional and a sweet man, just again, wants to do his best, always looking to improve it. And he'd put down one of the best takes I've ever seen for an actor and come up and say, is that what you want? Is that? I'm like, Paul, that was amazing. Jesus. But yeah, he's a one-off, that guy. He's fantastic.
Yeah, Tim, speaking of one-offs, just, we're at a certain age, maybe it's recognized right now, but I think just in posterity down the road, someone like Mike Myers is going to be considered one of the great actors of cinema. And as a filmmaker, how do you collaborate with that? And, what, I guess in layman's terms, what's the key to that kind of collaboration? Because you're working with such a prodigious talent, and what's it like for you and how do you collaborate?
Well, I think, you have to find your people. You have to find your warriors. You have to find like-minded people in the industry who are as sort of passionate and as crazy as you are, whether that be a writer, an actor, a producer, director. You have to find your warriors. And that's why sometimes I sort of don't really get on with episodic directing, because it's someone else's gig and they've set it all up. Someone with Mike Myers, I met him 3 years ago and we just giggled. We're two geeks. We find everything the same funny. And so we're on a level. And so we share ideas and we text each other silly pictures. We're cooking up this amazing show. And it's like, he's older than me, and I remember watching Austin Powers and as a cinephile watching it. But you get over that stuff very quickly because, usually if they're brilliant, they're just normal, sensitive individuals who want it to be good. And if you connect artistically with someone, then it becomes really exciting because you're like, wow, we're just the same. We're after the same thing. He equates the show that we're doing, that we're just having a cup of tea around each other's houses and this is the show we've done, because it's all of a sudden you're only interested in the creative and the ego goes out the door. And I think that's all part of it. Is you have to be okay with having the wrong decision and listening to what they have to say. And I love it. I love it because it challenges you. You're always after a challenge as a director. And I've worked with people it hasn't really worked out, and I've worked with some which has been a beautiful union. And when you connect with one of your fellow warriors in this crazy business, there's nothing like it, because creativity moves very quickly, and all of a sudden the ideas are flowing, and all of a sudden you've got something that you didn't think you'd have. So yeah, so I'm just very open and interested in talking to people on the same frequency, I think.
Yes, and as I'm leaving, just very quickly, I'm so excited. Hopefully, do you think maybe down the road there's going to be more Charlie Waldo films in cinema? And also, I'm excited to read more of Howard Michael Gould's work. Is he a brilliant writer, just from your you know,
He's
perspective?
fantastic. He's so lovely, and we've been really best pals throughout this whole process, because it's been a very hard film to get off the ground and to see it in cinemas and on demand. Friday is a miracle, because it's just the process has taken so long, like every other film as well, by the way. But he's just smiled the whole time, and we've laughed, and we send each other texts. I would love to do anything. In fact, I texted him, was it about Christmas? I was a bit drunk, and I said, come on, let's do the next one. And he went, okay, let's do it. So yeah, I mean, if there's love for it and the audience asking for it, watch this space.
Well, that's it has definitely my vote. Thank you so much, Tim, for your time, and I really
Oh, you're
appreciate
so
it.
welcome. Lovely to meet you. Thank you.
Pleasure.